So this lighting is pretty bad, but like, I really wanted to do this because I've filmed this a couple of times on TikTok, and I realized this was going to be longer than 10 minutes because I have a lot to discuss, and I want to share it with this audience because this is the audience who's willing to listen to a 10+ minute video. So, thank you. So, in today's video, I am going to be talking about the Thrallen Saga. Like everything I know about the Thrallen Saga, I want to tell you. But nothing is going to be about book 3 or book 4 because they're not out yet. Okay. So to catch you guys up to speed, I am an author. I wrote the Thrallen Saga, which is an ongoing adult fantasy series available on Amazon. Anyways, let's get into the books. This is book 1. It is Save Our King. It is about a young woman. She's 22. She wants to be a knight for this kingdom because she's heard stories about it as a child. She knows about their nobility, their courage, their legends to her, and she wants to be exactly like them. So she goes to the kingdom of Thrallen after her father's untimely death to join in these competitions called the Knight Trials. 3 tasks she must complete to prove her worth in order to become a knight, which is archery, jousting, and a sword duel. But you know, the kingdom she goes to, or pretty much any kingdom in this world I created, knights, women knights aren't a thing. There's no rule against it, but she would be heavily frowned upon. So she'd rather not do that. Instead, she undergoes these trials disguised as a man. It's great. Anyways, eventually she becomes a knight, but then she has to join in this battle that's pretty intense, and she finds out all kinds of stuff. I'll get into it later. And her whole world is changed. She isn't just a knight anymore. She's actually the long-lost princess. Well, she's not technically a princess. She's the child of the late king and his mistress. So she doesn't count as a royal family member at this point. So it's very intense, but I love it. Book 2 is Protect Our Knight, and this is after the fact. My main character, Anna, has become a knight, and she knows she is kind of royalty-ish. Basically, during this book, her brother, the king, is getting married to his love, who is not well, I guess she's a noble lady, but he's not doing it to, like, have an alliance with another kingdom or appease a noble man or something like that. No, he's marrying for love. He decided to switch up the tradition. Anyways, as she's witnessing this wedding, she's having difficulties with the royal warlock because they have some tension going on between them. Anyways, during the reception, the kingdom gets overtaken and the king gets held hostage, but she can't do anything about it because the warlock takes her out of there because they have to form a plan to get him back. Anyways, my character Anna has to go on a little quest to find help to rescue their king because them two people can't do it alone. Just a warlock and a knight. They can't really do much because of the person they're going up against. So they go to her original kingdom to ask for help. We get to see more of her childhood, I guess, deeper knowledge of it anyways. And then the tension between her and this warlock get really intense, and feelings start to rise and exposed to where at the one point they openly admit they've fallen for each other when they didn't want to or didn't plan to. That's out of the way. They get their help, they go back to the kingdom. They rescue the king, they save their kingdom, but something happens to Anna that's, again, life-changing. And this time, it does permanent damage. Now you have a good idea what book 1 and book 2 are about. Again, they're on Amazon, but now I'm going to jump into everything about them. So if you're willing to wait and listen to it, do that. Let's start with what I think is unique about book 1, because there's a lot in here that I haven't personally seen in fantasy. I pretty much did my own thing. I created my own tropes, I guess, or I modified them. So yeah, there is no romance in book 1. I mean, there's tension, kind of, but there is no romance because this story is just about Anna finding what she wants in life, which ultimately changes in book 2. That's beside the point. Point is that she is very goal-oriented, if I'm making that right. This is her story before we get into the more complicated stuff, which I like. It's like an appetizer, I guess, before you get to the entree, but it's fast-paced. It takes place in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's a month. It takes place within a month. A lot of stuff happens here, but it's all about Anna, my character, which I think it's awesome. Now, my main character has white hair. I mean, it literally says it on the back. And at first, I wasn't really thinking about it. I just thought it was a hair color. But then when I gave it its meaning, why she has that hair color, I was like, well, okay. But the meaning isn't explained until book 3. And there's a situation in book 3 that kind of looks like it could have been in Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, something, which is bad. I didn't realize I did that. It has nothing to do with that. That's where my mind went to, and I was like, oh, wait, oops. But literally that has nothing to do with this situation. It's a complicated situation, trust me. I think the vibes of book 1 is very quick, intense, definitely heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. There's this couple in here who kind of like befriend Anna, and it's really nice to see after we know her father died really early on in the book. That is the trope that I did go with, that's kind of common everywhere, is the orphan trope. But she's not a total orphan, because in book 1 she finds a parent, but then she loses the parent, so oops. But that's probably one trope I did use, so I don't know. So let's talk about what I had to come up with for this book. I had to come up with kingdom names, the aesthetic of the knights, which is definitely different. These books are inspired by the TV show Merlin. I really love the stories of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. That's my thing. It's kind of what I went through. But I really didn't use any of that information or anything of those stories. I did my own thing, except for the no magic thing for women. Because in Merlin, there's no magic in Camelot, but for this story, there's no magic for women. Because I had to make something into a problem. By the way, she goes through this whole series without telling anybody that she has magic. Women aren't supposed to have magic. We'll get to that later. Anyways, so the knights wear silver chainmail, like silver armor, but their tunics underneath are yellow. And then their capes are brown, because those are the kingdom colors, and their kingdom mascot, I guess, is a grizzly bear. So that's why there's a bear on the cover. It's kind of cool. Also, there's a tavern in here that houses specific stuff that's called the Yellow Piggle, and their mascot is a yellow pig. It's different. Enough about book 1. Let's get into book 2, because darn. Book 2 is definitely longer, slightly, and it has deeper issues, specifically with my character and her identity. It was rough writing it because I didn't like to see my character upset, but I knew it had to be done for her to grow as a person. And then I introduced the issues with the warlock who hunted her in book 1 for having magic. They do get together. That's a spoiler, but they get together. But it's a rocky road after that. So keep an eye out in book 3. But she's definitely reeling through the motions after her brother is held hostage. So she's constantly worried about him, because that's her mission in life as a knight, is to protect the royal family. And at this point, it's just him in her eyes, and obviously his new wife, because he just got married. At least I had it to where they married before everything happens. There is a specific trope out there called the one bed trope, where characters have to go to a tavern or whatever, or a pub, whatever. They have to rent a room, but there's only one room left and one bed left. I did something similar, but it's not the one bed trope, because I didn't want to be that kind of girl, you know. Though it was very well done in A Court of Mist and Fury. But I didn't want to be like that, even though it was good, because I didn't want to be boring with it, because I probably would have, because I am not creative when it comes to known tropes. But I reinvented it for myself. I gave the characters their own room, their own bed, but I made the guy bold. His name's Thrallen, the warlock. I made him bold to where he physically left his own room to go see what Anna was up to. By this point, they're so intense with each other, arguing kind of, and he's like wants to talk to her, but he doesn't know. But then he gets mad at himself for talking to her, like saying you don't need her. But then during the wedding, he's like, should I take her away from myself? He's complicated, and we know nothing about Thrallen in any of the books until book 4, which is insane, because when we find out who he is, it's gonna blow Anna's mind. Though I don't know if it's a good way or a bad way yet. I'll figure it out. I got time. So I do think there's another trope-ish thing that I used, is giving my character a destiny, but it's not like a legit one. She just gets told that she's meant for great things, but they don't tell her what it is yet. So it's kind of aggravating. So she's like, what am I doing here? And someone's like, you just need to be here for reasons. But then they can't tell her the reasons, so she has no idea what she's here for. That's a little annoying, but that doesn't come into play until book 4. So you guys just need to read book 1 and 2 before book 3 and 4 come out, because it's gonna blow your minds. So as these books are centered around knights, I did my best to include a lot of sword stuff, but there's also magic use, because my character also has magic. Sometimes she doesn't need to rely on it because she's got her blade. So let's get into the magic of my book. We learn in chapter 4 of this book how the magic system works. Oh, let me show you the map before we continue. Oh, it's not in this one. Well, it is. By the way, these have been reformatted. The map has been added to this one because it was only in book 2 at the time, but now it's in book 1, but I can't show you in this one. So, okay. Because I hand drew it myself, so it's pretty cool. Anyways, here is our land. They live on a Earth, but it's not Earth, or I guess it is Earth, but the land is called Seeker's Land. The Seekers are like the witch goddesses or whatever that they kind of worship, I guess. But here it is. The kingdom of Buskav is who kidnaps Casper, Thrallen, during his wedding, and they have to go to Delvina, my main character's old kingdom, to ask for help. Give you a general idea, but oh my god, I forgot what I was going to tell you after I showed the map. Give me a minute. Right, the magic in this series. So it gets introduced in chapter 4, I think. There are warlocks and there are sorceresses. Bad sorceresses are called witches, to single them out to who's good or bad. But there is no word for bad warlocks. I think I did that on purpose, because obviously. But the Seekers are women. Even though women have less power here. And the Seekers are those who they like worship and have stories and legends about. Anyways, but my magic system is different because witches and warlocks and sorceresses as a whole are called magic wielders, and magic wielders can taste each other's magic, and each person has a different taste depending on what type of magic they wield. So for instance, Thrallen, the warlock in here that hunts Anna, he is like spellcaster. He does enchantments, he does little potions and stuff. That's his field of magic. And his magic tastes like sour apples. Anna's magic, she does elemental stuff and like telekinesis stuff. Her magic tastes like cinnamon. At the time, I didn't realize that apples and cinnamon kind of go together like in a little pie. So that's great. But yeah, and non-magic wielders, regular people, can have the rare ability to feel the magic. They can't taste it, but they can feel magic around them. And that is called the eye. I can't remember which book it's introduced in. I think it might be in this one. But yes. Ooh, reminds me of another trope I didn't technically use, but then I reinvented it. Let's get into it. Long story short, at the end of book 1, something happens to Anna, to which Thrallen has to step in and split his soul in half to put in her. I knew I wanted something that has something to do with soulmates, so I didn't make them soulmates. I gave Anna half his soul in book 1, and she has it until the end of book 2. And we know she has it because she has one eye that's hers, hazel, and the other eye is his eyes, red, bright red. So that's how you know she's sharing half his soul. I took soulmates to a new level, but they're not technically soulmates, they just share a soul. It's really weird on how I did it, but I did it for a reason, but then that reason gets fixed. But that kind of leaves her magic a little wonky in book 2 because she's sharing half a soul, so she gets kind of like some things mixed around with his. And that kind of pushes him away from her. And she pushes away from him. It kind of kickstarts their attraction, though he can't. And then they can feel each other's feelings, or at least she can feel his feelings with his soul. Like he purposely doesn't let her feel anything. He's got a better control of it anyway. So yeah, that's what I did with the whole soulmate thing, even though they're not soulmates. They're choosing, they chose to love each other. I don't know why, but they did. So I think that's pretty freaking unique, right? Don't get me wrong, I love the soulmate trope. It just gets a little repetitive after a while. So I gave them the right to choose. And in book 3, that love is tested, for sure. But it's not a love triangle. I can't tell you that until book 3 comes out. Okay, let me wrap up some of my final thoughts because this video has been a little long and I've probably exposed a little too much on these books. Sorry. Things that book talk fantasy girlies might appreciate in here. I guess, I don't know. There's foul language in here. A lot of the F word. A lot of the B word. I like the B word. Especially in writing, I think it's funny. There is gore for those who like that in there. Definitely some blood, guts, arm slicing off, clean off. Yeah. What else is in there? There is no spice in book 1, obviously, because there's no romance really in there. But book 2 has spice. It's not that great, but it's there. It's reasonable. But in book 3, okay. Anyways, the Thrallen Saga is definitely a unique fantasy series because, for a lot of different reasons why I just explained, told you about. I don't consider it YA. It's not YA. It's a lot more mature, I think, for like 18 and up people. Imagining like the Thrallen Saga in a TV show inspired by Merlin. There's also a little bit of A Knight's Tale in there too, and A Quest for Camelot. That movie is great, but that is my books. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys coming in and listening to this, me talk about it. They are available on Amazon as paperback and Kindle ebook. Hardbacks won't be even thought about until book 4 has been published. Hopefully by next summer or this summer. So that's exciting. Thank you for listening. I like this video. Comment if you want more. I've got plenty for you. Thank you.